horror has found a new home. You are cordially invited to spend an evening with Roger Cobb and his friends in a house no one should live in. This is the Cult Faction Podcast, episode 74, with a spotlight on House. Hello and welcome to episode 74, where tonight we have a spotlight on House. Yes, not only will we be doing the normal waffle that we do every week where we chat about what we may or may not have been watching to those that are listening and sometimes to those who aren't listening. But every week we have a choice where one of us will select a film where we need to watch and then critique the following week. We forgot to mention it last week's podcast, but I chose House, the great horror classic, horror comedy classic from the 80s, and no one vetoed it. Hence why we are doing our spotlight session on House this week. Just recapping.
Thanks for
because we missed it.
No,
I forgot.
We were so engrossed.
We missed. Let's not say we missed it. Hands up. Balls out, I forgot.
To be fair, it was a gripping episode on Blind Furies. If you haven't checked it out yet, go back and have a listen.
That's right. So I am your host for this evening, Paul Hawkins, and as ever, I am joined by
Damien Hicks.
And Brett Summers.
So, we won't spend too much time talking about what we've been up to unless anyone's got anything relevant, pertinent, interesting they want to share. To be fair, I've been swamped this week, so I haven't really done much socialising.
School, and a bit of the gym and school, really.
Apart from the fact that obviously I'm getting ready for Halloween.
Oh, yes.
Already looking at costumes because
Hallows Eve.
I don't want to do the mistake I made last year of leaving it till the week before. 2 days before.
There's a day.
Well, if it's any consolation, I left it to the day. So
it was the day before we had a Halloween party where I was in town looking for.
Luckily,
costumes.
you spotted a really cheap bargain.
Still, it's still in the cupboard and it's waiting to be released again when I will get the Joker outfit on. But something else this year, so I've kind of narrowed it down to a few things, just because I want to wear it. Yeah, I'm not going to win prizes. I'm just going because I just fancied wearing that outfit this year, if I can get it in time.
Fair enough.
And no, it's not the £700 Halo suit that I really want. Although if I am turning up wearing that at the Halloween party, something really good's happened and that is on sale. If Shell asks. I can't believe you only got it for
sale.
You only got it for £50. Wow. Yeah. So nothing interesting for me in regards to social life. Summers.
No, now you've got me thinking about Halloween costumes. Yeah, but no, nothing too exciting.
And Damien?
No.
Cool. Then let's scrape it off, Claire. And
Scrape them off, Claire.
Let's move on to anything we've been watching that we want to call out for this evening.
I've got one. I have been catching up because I haven't had much of a chance to do with work and stuff and lately, but I've been catching up on the new Star Wars TV series Andor, which is on Disney+.
So I think...
Yeah.
And I know we say this a lot, but I think Damien might enjoy this.
I was going to say exactly the same thing.
Because it's not your atypical Star Warsy type film.
I'm really liking it. This is basically like a gritty, almost political, like resistance, like ground level swelling resistance thing that just basically happens to be in the Star Wars universe. There's even sex in it, but which Star Wars no one has sex in Star Wars.
And I know we kind of tried to like pitch the Book of Boba Fett to you that this is going to be more of the underground criminal.
Yeah, you did exactly. That
was what
failed
it was
miserably,
teased
didn't
out. But this is pretty much this could be sort of like an Ireland thing. This could be a French resistance thing against the government. No, it's a real proper dark, gritty, like overview. That again,
it's just another one of those once a week drops.
Well, they did the first 3 episodes together, and now they're doing one a week.
Right.
So you got a chunk to watch if you wanted to watch a few to get an idea of it. But the first 2 kind of build up to the third. And
well, you'd hope that, wouldn't you?
No, but then it's more all systems go. You know, you're getting the lay of the land,
setting the scene,
off you go.
Okay.
And it hasn't disappointed yet. And you know, but even better, there is some great casting in this. There is a place where people who leave EastEnders go now. It's got I think it's Gary Beale, who was Patrick Truman's son. He was in the comic strip and all that, famous 5 Go to Dorset and all that. He's Patrick Truman's son in EastEnders. He got murdered by Janine, but now he's in it.
Okay.
He's been in loads. If you saw it, you'd recognise loads of other stuff. And also
Adam Woodyatt.
I was going to say, that's the ultimate.
No.
Todd Carty.
Not yet. And the other guy in it is, did you see, how far have you got, Paul?
I haven't started watching it yet. I'm waiting.
But there is a really big kind of Scottish guy in it who's like one of the officials as it goes along. And I was watching it for ages.
He's a referee.
Big chunky dude. And I was like, I know him from something. And it turns out it's Trevor from EastEnders who was with Little Mo. Yeah. But obviously it's been a fair few years since then now.
Don't know.
And
I've never really watched EastEnders.
No, but he was like the domestic bully. And at the time it was like everyone was like, you know, he used to beat her and what. And it was like a whole... You know, he was getting stuff thrown at him in the street because he was that hated. As you know, like people can't tell the difference.
I think I know what you mean. He's popped up in loads of things.
Yeah, but he's been acting for years, but he's just the voice is there, and I was like, I know it, but he's just looks like he's in a fat suit or something. To be honest, to not being oral, but obviously it's probably 20 odd years later now. You know, but he's in it, and but everyone in it is like delivering it as a serious piece of drama rather than, and a lot of the dialogue is serious. You know, are you going to do something about this? These guys take not like we must stop the Imperial Galactic from taking out. It's done as a almost straight resistance kind of upswelling. What's the word I'm looking for?
Don't know. Haven't seen it.
But like from the ground up, you know, this is
uprising
kind of thing. But this is the dirt and grime of it. You've got, you know, the other Star Wars people on their shiny spaceships up in space doing cool stuff where they're getting all the credit. This is all the slime and the shit underneath that needs to get done for them to do their bits. And so far, it is the show I thought it would be. And it's going to obviously lead on eventually to Rogue One, which you watched, I think, didn't you?
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen them all now.
So it's Andor. It's the guy from Rogue One. It's his...
Yes.
I'm just checking, because, you know... But
I know. Do I care?
So we know his plight. So in a way, seeing what's happened to him, even though usually we say, like, well, you know what's going to happen, so it kind of takes us... You know, we know he's not going to die, because we know when he dies. But I think it's making it more tragic, because we know... the decisions he's making, where it's going to take him.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't want to give away too many spoilers because there are a lot of twists and turns and a lot of faces that pop up, old and new.
Cool.
Yeah, worth a watch so far.
Brilliant. Anything for you, Damien?
Van der Valk.
Ooh. Good
on
old
ITV.
Van der Valk.
Have they remade it?
Yeah. I think it's the second
Ooh.
I want to say season, but I think there's only like 3 episodes per run because they're on for 2 hours. It's a bit like Vera. You know.
Who have we got now?
So Mark Warren is.
Mark Warren. Where do I know that?
I
know the name.
He was in The Hogfather. Was he in Da Vinci Code?
Can't remember. Don't know him.
Yeah, you know if you see him.
Is he the white hair bloke? Is he the
Yeah,
white hair?
I think
Yeah,
so.
I know you mean.
I think.
He
Don't quote me on that.
He looks like the guy that played the Vision in the Avengers, but it's not him. Bettany. Looks like Paul Bettany.
I was going to say, because Paul Bettany's in Angels and Demons.
Might be him then. It might just look alike, and I'm saying.
Maybe it is Mark Warren. Probably is.
Anyway, he's the titular character. The best thing about it is they use a little bit of the original theme tune in the opening theme, but just like all modernised.
Did a Doctor Who.
Yeah. It's like in the background.
Yeah, it is that one. That's the one I was thinking of, yeah.
Okay.
So I was just looking
Good to
them up.
know. I'm glad we managed to get an Avengers thing
Cool.
in there. But other than that, it's actually pretty crap.
Yeah. There we go.
Just typed it in everything and you tell me wrong, so it's not worth it then. Are you sticking with it, or are you just...
Well, it's just easy watching detective drama, but... Yeah. Stuff new.
It's no Death in Paradise.
It's no Death in Paradise. Hasn't got the campness of Death in Paradise. Or the realism of
Death in Paradise.
Columbo, you know?
Cool. Okay, couple of short mentions.
Just needed a break
me.
from things like The Servant or this
Don't
Devil's
apologise.
Ohio thing that I talked about last week, which is we haven't got back to.
Every time we need to shut off and just watch something comforting.
Well, I think it is. Well, I think
serial
it is
killers in yeah.
Well, I was just going to say. Well, I think
Amsterdam,
it as well.
that's where he is.
The Dharma thing, as you'll be surprised to know, gets darker. But it's again,
what a surprise!
But it's acted well, but it gets darker again. I've only watched a couple more since last week, and again, I've left it for a bit because it's real stuff, and I'm more uncomfortable with how some of the way Netflix are playing it. But it's done in a good way, but. We keep hearing about like the people involved not being told about things that get put out. And if it's your family, I'd be a bit annoyed. You know what I mean? But sorry, Paul, you were saying.
No, it's fine. So a couple of quick mentions from me. Bloodlands Season 2 with James Nesbitt on BBC One.
Oh, yeah. I don't remember the first... I know I saw the first season.
Yeah, you did, yeah.
But I can't remember. I thought it was a one-off.
Well, I think everyone did. But they decided to bring it back for a Season 2.
All I saw that was someone put on Facebook, oh my God, James Nesbitt looks really old.
Doesn't
look
really old.
I haven't seen it. But then if you're watching Cold Feet from 30 years ago,
he
might
say he hasn't not been on telly at all.
No.
Yeah.
So it's, I
he's
kinda
aged
get
with us.
When you talked about that Trevor guy, you get that because he's been in a lot of, he's popped up in things like Vera and all those kind of TV, BBC dramas. So if you don't watch those, you go, fucking hell, yeah, he does look old. But James Nesbitt, you can't put the TV on without seeing the...
Exactly.
Yeah, he's been in adverts.
Or hearing his voice.
Yeah. Not that I'm complaining, I like the guy, I think he's good. But
and that's the reason I'm watching it, to be fair. It's James Nesbitt doing James Nesbitt in pretty much everything he does. But hey, if that works, it works. It's not great, but it's Sunday night BBC One viewing.
I'll catch it on iPlayer.
Yep, we watched Black Panther, me and the little one.
Wakanda Forever.
Just because he wanted to watch it. He's been going on about that for a while.
Did he like it?
Yeah. He was the one that wanted to watch it.
Cool.
So
it's one of my faves.
We went through that. Sunday morning, we watched Star Wars A New Hope because he saw that and wanted to watch that.
Has he not seen that before?
No.
Ooh,
I don't think he was blown away by it, to be fair. Not as much as Black Panther, but hey, it was a necessity. And so we did that. And now, listeners, and for you guys in the room,
those not listening,
and even for those not listening, I've done everyone a service this week.
And for those talking horses,
that's right. I've watched the film, so you don't have to.
Whee.
So on one of the streaming services, Netflix or Amazon, Cher was busy doing work, and I just started playing "I Used to Be Famous" with Ed Skrein, guy off not Daredevil, Deadpool. He was in Alita. He's been in loads of stuff. British actor who basically plays someone that used to be in a boy band. One of the boy band got really rich and famous and then had a solo career. He didn't. So he's on the streets busking, basically, trying to get his career back. And a teenager with autism starts playing on a bench in the background, and all the people are listening to his beats as Ed Scream.
Just said playing on a bench. What?
I know he is. He's there, so he's just getting his drumsticks out and playing.
There we go.
Playing drums.
You weren't
along with Ed Screen. It gets something like 62,000 views online, and this is potentially going to invigorate his newfound career if he can get his mum, the autistic kid's mum, to basically give the okay for him to do a few gigs and all that kind of stuff. So it's basically, supposedly, a warm-hearted film about their relationship and about, him helping the kid out and, maybe
by
making
helping
him
the
famous.
kid helps him.
Exactly, yeah. No, it's rubbish.
It's just Rain Man.
No, God, no. Don't don't go into watching it, think like that. Actually, don't watch it. I've watched it.
So you've done it for me,
yeah. So lo and behold, you're never going to imagine it, but at the end, spoiler alert, bing. He maybe does get another break at Stardom and doing a tour with his ex-bandmate, doing a support act for him. But the weird bit is he's basically got a decision to make. They don't want him to bring the kid along and use a proper drummer. He says he's going to think about it. Decides. Well, we think he decided he's not going to, but you never hear whether he's definitely ruled it out. But at the end, it's okay because he comes back and does like a gig for the kid on his birthday and gets him up on stage. But it's only the two of them to like a street. It's like, yeah, but are you getting him on tour? And no, he probably isn't because he wants the cash. But yeah, it's not great. Don't watch it.
Don't bother.
Don't bother, mate.
I won't. I don't think I would have done previously, to be fair, but even less so now.
Yeah.
And what was that called again?
Don't watch this film. No, it's I Used to Be Famous.
Yeah, there you go. You've been warned, people. You've been warned.
Spotlight. So Roger Cobb is a Vietnam vet whose career as a horror novelist has taken a turn for the worse when his son Jimmy mysteriously disappears while visiting his aunt's house. Roger's search for Jimmy destroys his marriage and his writing career. The sudden death of his aunt brings Roger back to the house where his nightmares began. Released in 1986, it grossed $22.1 million worldwide and was followed by 3 sequels: House 2, The Second Story, House 3, The Horror Show, and House 4, The Repossession. Main cast to be mentioned, William Katt, Roger Cobb, George Wendt as Harold Gorton, the neighbour, Roger Moll as Big Ben, and Susan French as Aunt Elizabeth Hooper. That's the main cast, but obviously we have little appearances from people every now and again that we're not going to read out.
No.
There are some important people in this film.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can potentially use that at the end where we talk about springboards and other occurrences, or as we go through.
Yeah.
We're not saying no. We're just saying not now.
We don't need Dr. Google right now.
Yeah. So this was my choice.
Tweaky from Buck Rogers.
This was my choice last week, and obviously we're in Halloween season, so every choice is for the time being is a horror classic or a Halloween special classic film from the past potentially. In this case, but we don't know what's coming up next on the next few episodes until we find out.
I'm excited to hear Brett's recommendation.
Yeah. So this is my choice, and I for the first one, I narrowed it down to 2. One which was pure horror, allegedly, and then this one which was a favourite of mine. Pretty much at the same time as we were watching Nightmare on Elm Street 3. and then we were watching kind of House around that kind of same period.
Yeah.
In my head, in my recollection, and as I said, it was one of those. It was a safe space. there was lots going on, but it threw in the comedy, and it was just that great feeling. Similar with Nightmare on Elm Street 3. I almost chose that, but I was too scared to go back there in case it didn't live up to my wondrous memories.
It does. Don't worry, I've seen it recently.
Right. But I decided to go for House.
Fair
and as I said, it brought, for the reason of all the and some stuff, all the happy memories of watching it from a childhood.
I know what you mean, though, because for me, I remember finding this on the old, when Sky was back in the cable days with the A to Z dial on the wall, finding it on one of the film channels there and just being excited because it had the greatest American hero in it.
Yeah.
And the guy from Cheers, as it was at the time. And it was like, wow, it's like two of my favourite things. and what? Nothing really. What? William Katt never done much, did he? It was around, like this, because this wasn't, you just said how much money this took worldwide on a, it smashed the budget. Why, why did that star not shine?
Is there a lot of difference between, not necessarily the character, Roger Cobb, and the Greatest American Hero, but is there a lot of difference between the performance of Roger?
Same.
Exactly.
It almost is the same character.
So I think that answers your question.
Yeah, but Will Smith plays Will Smith and everything.
Yeah, but that's a different level of stuff. It's a different level.
And his action films are quite
quite
so
I think
well, this
you get a moment in the sun to play it if you're that kind of actor where you can, and if those roles don't come along like they did for Will Smith, then it takes a dip, and I think that's what happened to William Katt.
Yeah, just if you are listening, William Katt, you've got no worries. I compared you to Will Smith.
You got a place in our hearts, that's for sure.
Oh yeah,
Damien.
The same as you, Paul, because I think you're probably referring to many days round my house.
Yeah.
But so this one, the in fact, it's pertinent that you brought up Dream Warriors, because I distinctly remember the day I got both these on VHS. So I was in HMV with my mum. I had birthday money to spend. As well, you get some videos if you want. And I chose Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and House. Chose House because I recognised the guy from Greatest American Hero, and chose Nightmare on Elm Street 3 because it looked cool.
Yeah.
And that and
How
a few
right
other
you
films.
were.
We had like about 5 films on VHS at the time, and these were 2 of them, and they were just watched constantly.
Yep, pretty much.
During summer holidays and stuff. So I was quite pleased when he chose it.
Cool.
Because I hadn't watched it for a long time.
Okay, so just to run through what we're going to do now, we kind of break this film down into bite-sized chunks, and then we normally waffle on a bit about it.
About each of those bite-sized chunks.
Yeah, and bring in.
We chew those bite-sized chunks for a considerable amount of time.
Yeah, so let's kick off on our journey to the house. Nothing like Dharma. No.
And Greg.
What?
Dharma and Greg.
Oh, okay. Right, okay, fine. So, Roger Cobb, author of horror novels, is a troubled man. He is recently separated from his wife. Their only son has disappeared without a trace, and his favourite aunt is dead, apparently hanging herself. On top of everything else, it has been more than a year since the release of his last book, and he is being pressured by his publisher to write another. To the disappointment of his fans and publisher, Cobb plans to purge himself of the experiences that scarred him during his tour of duty in Nam by publishing them in his new book. That's right. So it kicks off in the house when, the kid mysteriously disappears in a swimming pool.
No, it doesn't.
Well, no. But, sorry. Well, it doesn't kick off there, but...
No.
All right. So you want to take it back?
Well, that's just... Yeah.
Go on then.
Well, it kicks off with the pretty well done panning shot from the back of the garden, right the way through the side of the house to the grocery boy who doesn't look like he's ever ridden a moped in his life because he uses the curb to stop himself. And then
That's what kids did in the 80s. They lived dangerously.
You think it's going to follow. You think, well, this is actually quite a good. It's only because this is going by watching it recently, not necessarily what I was thinking at the time. But this is actually quite a good shot, and it's gonna follow him into the house. But no, it stops there, and the kid walks off because you realise that they couldn't get the camera over the curb to make that nice smooth shot. So it kind of cuts, and then it edits into him.
That can't be why.
But then it's like just he walks into the house and he's shouting, "It's the grocery boy or something," and then goes upstairs and sees that Aunt Maud or whatever her name is. What's her name? Aunt Hooper is swinging from the rafters.
Yeah, and she's still swinging. Yeah. So it's obviously just happened. So it's a very recent suicide, and he just runs out of the house. That's probably would I.
Yeah. And then
actually, I don't know whether I'd have gone upstairs anyway.
No, you're just there to deliver groceries. And he even shouts out, "I'll get the money off you next week." So just leave then. Job done. Let someone else find the rotten corpse in a couple of weeks' time.
Just look round and there's a fat cat that's eating it.
Yeah. And then we've got, I think we've got the scene where he's at the book signing, and nice selection of 80s weirdos in the queue.
Yeah, they tick the boxes on that one.
Yeah, you got the punk, the
avid fan.
This old weirdos. I'll treasure this always.
It reminded me, it's the Rex Manning queue again. Isn't
it?
Yeah,
very
that
much.
Genre is that sort of.
He absolutely doesn't want to be there. He hates these people, but he has to be there because that's his job.
Yeah, and then this is where he says he's going to write a new book about Vietnam, and they all look very every person he tells that to looks disappointed. I think by this point they've had enough of Vietnam stories.
And
they probably hadn't watched Blind Fury.
Otherwise they'd have been again, that links back to last week's episode of Blind Fury. You know, Vietnam affected people differently. Some people went blind, disappeared for 20 years, and learned to be like really cool samurai swordsmen. And some people learned how to write books. It just affected everyone differently. And if you weren't there, you didn't know, man. Is it the publisher who's the hotel manager from Ghostbusters?
No.
Or was that the guy later on? I'm trying to think back.
That's the real estate agent.
Yeah, really. Yes. Sorry. I'm going ahead. I'm doing it from memory because I don't have time to watch it this week. But anyway then, so following his aunt's funeral, instead of selling her house as recommended by the estate agent, there we go, Cobb decides to live there for a while and try to write in a very kind of woman in black kind of thing as it is nowadays. Having spent a great deal of time in the house as a child, there are many memories still there for him, just like us thinking back to this film. And after moving in, Cobb begins to have powerful, graphic nightmares. Thoughts of his army buddy, Big Ben, played by Richard Moll, who died in Vietnam, come spilling out. In addition, strange phenomena spring forth from the house, haunting him in his waking hours as well. He tries communicating his fears to his noisy next-door neighbour, Harold, George Wendt. But Harold just thinks he's crazy.
Yeah, so George Wendt is a fan of him as well, because he actually turns up in the first meeting with his book.
Yeah, his dog-eared copy is falling apart.
It's more than dog-eared. It's literally falling apart at the seams.
It's almost like that little bit of hero worship, isn't there? He's just sort of like.
We get one of the best lines of the film in this scene where he meets. I keep calling him Norm, where he keeps meeting George.
Everyone knows him as Norm.
So he's like, it's great to have new neighbours. The lady here was crazy, batshit crazy.
Oh yeah,
proper nut job, senile old bat. Really, she was my aunt. Heart of gold though, and good looking woman for her age. So we're properly introduced to the. I mean, even though this is a comic film anyway, George is the proper comic foil of this.
Yeah,
and plays it perfectly.
And I think that's a nice thing as well, both because Cheers was going, people know him as Norm, and it's instantly got that bit of comic relief. It's like, it's safe, it's okay. It may be a horror film, but it is going to be a bit funny. So everything's cool. We can carry on,
and we trust Norm. We know Norm. We trust him. We've seen him in Cheers. He's funny.
Yeah.
He's not going to let us down. He's like that built-in safety net for the audience.
Yeah.
Any more to add to this?
No, I was going to say, I think it. I said about the woman in black. It does sort of set that scene. You get the isolation, I guess, of Cobb is kind of set
solitude,
up.
One might say.
Solitude, yeah.
It's
I was going to say it's self-imposed isolation.
No, it's just that he reiterates the fact that he's there for solitude. To Norm.
Yeah, and some people go to a house in the middle of or a hotel in the middle of nowhere to write a book. Some people live in their dead aunt's house, where his son mysteriously disappeared.
Where all the motivation comes from. I forgot what I was going to say now. But you know, this is it. We've had the backstory. We've had the Vietnam bit and the character introduced. Now we're setting our scene up. So we've got the house. He's pointed out, as I say, it's a solitude. It's like a self-imposed exile on himself. He's got to get this book done. The pressure's building up. He's got a fanboy next door.
He turns on his old computer.
And he's ready to rock. So, you know, we're ready now. We've got the backstory. We've got the current story. Is something happening? Is there a bit of strange thing going on here? You know, we're strapping in now. We're about to go on the journey.
Yeah. So one night, while investigating a noise coming from his aunt's bedroom, Cobb is attacked by something in the shape of a horrible beast coming from the closet. More strange things happen. Garden tools embed themselves in the door near his head. His wife turns up on the doorstep one day, and as she says hello, transforms into a hideous hag known as the Sandy Witch. He shoots her. Then Cobb battles gremlin creatures, little critters that are attempting to kidnap a neighbour's child. Cobb is currently babysitting, or reluctantly babysitting, I should say.
Yeah, forced upon him.
So there's about 4 or 5 scenes just kind of embedded in that synopsis there. We were introduced to the random hot neighbour who's taken a dip in the. Oh no, we're not introduced then, are we? Yes, we are.
Yeah, because he looks after a kid.
Yeah. She's taking a dip in
sells,
Roger's swimming pool.
She's basically selling it like, oh, hi, yeah, you're new to the neighbourhood. Oh, let's get it on, maybe.
Yeah.
And she turns up with a kid and said, oh, can you look after him? It's like, what?
I know. What is it? She says, I know when a man likes to work.
Yeah.
But I also know when he likes to play. He's thinking, I'm in here. I'm going to get over Sandy after all.
Believe it or not.
Going to get some writer's relief.
Yeah, that's after the Sandy Witch, isn't it? Because we've got the whole bit where she turns up at the door, seemingly in the middle of the night, ends up killing her by the tools. The tools kill her, don't they? I only watched this like 2 days ago.
Yeah, doesn't he open the door and then he goes running out, but then George Wendt's there and he's like, there's nothing there.
No.
What was that not about?
So he's got the body and he has to try and bury it.
Yeah, but isn't he dragging it, but then there's not one...
Hang on, let's stop.
I'm doing it from memory, so I'm
we're all doing
probably
it
the
from memory.
worst one.
I only watched it.
Yeah, but I didn't get a chance. So
Sandy turns up, turns into Sandy Witch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A fight ensues. He does shoot Sandy Witch, but it doesn't kill her.
Yep.
And then
all the tools
that have been floated about.
He opens the door and they fly straight into her.
Yeah, and they chop her head off. So he's no, that's not right either. He shoots her.
Yeah.
Thinks he's killed her, and hides her in a cupboard because the police are on their way.
That's right. I forgot about the police.
And then the police draw up outside, and he nonchalantly just sits down and starts polishing the gun.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, because there's a picture on the wall with the tools.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we've already seen the tools because the tools attacked him the night before when he's getting the gun.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's sat outside, and that's where George Wendt thinks he's going to kill himself.
Yeah, well, when George Wendt hears a gunshot,
yep.
Roger Cobb has just stood up over the supposedly dead body of Sandy Witch.
And then the police turn up. He thinks he wants an autograph, but he just wants to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
so then we get a very tense scene where we know the body's in the under the stairs and has now turned back into the body of Sandy.
Bit of rope, Hitchcock.
Hey?
It's a bit like rope, Hitchcock.
Right.
We know the body's there. They don't. You know, like the body in the box thing.
So he's made him a cup of coffee. They're sat around a coffee table. Yeah, it's all very tense.
And the policeman, this is my bit I want to get in there. Alan Autry from In the Heat of the Night was his main thing, and he did a bit of Cheers.
Is he in Stir Crazy?
Might
not be him.
And Stephen Williams, who ended up being the chief in 21 Jump Street, the TV series, and then was the first ex-informant in the X-Files. Then they bumped him off. Like when Mouldy's put the X in his window.
You're asking me to remember shit I'm not going to remember, so don't bother.
Yeah, that's true. But he went on to other things like that. So, they were the police. So, they were pretty cool.
Yep. So he gets rid of the police and he goes to dispose of the body. The body's no longer there.
That's right.
And so then, I think, comes out of nowhere. Can't remember exactly how. But another fight ensues. That's when the floating garden tools chop off her head. So he decides to bury the body there. And
that's where we get the comedy where where the body parts are still trying to attack him.
Yep.
Cool.
There we go.
There was a lot in that to digest.
Right, moving on. So, Cobb discovers that the mysterious creature in the bedroom closet appears at the stroke of midnight. There's loads of different types of horror films all rolled in one, and almost like the storyline from lots of horror films in this as well, isn't it? So, at the stroke of midnight, the mysterious creature appears, and initially he attempts to capture video evidence of the creature in the closet. Explaining the creature as a large raccoon so as not to scare him away, Cobb later recruits Harold to assist him and arms him with a harpoon gun attached to a wire. When they open the door at midnight, the creature comes out clawing and growling. After Harold shoots the creature with a harpoon gun, it retreats to the closet, dragging Cobb behind when he gets caught on the wire. Yeah.
There's a few little plot points to unpack here. How, in the age of pre-internet, does Roger manage to get all that stuff delivered the very next day?
I think Harold's got it anyway. I think Harold's just got everything that actually helps the plot.
Yeah, but he has got the equipment arrives by courier truck.
He knows
but Harold knows people.
Right, I see what you mean.
He knows Cliff, doesn't he?
Yeah, you can get that stuff FedEx straight away.
But the bit I really liked about that was the bit where he was kind of like, yeah, okay. Holy shit. You know, they're sort of like, because it's, I don't know, normally like that, they play that a little bit longer of the, we don't see
tension,
it, we don't see it. And he almost sees it like the first time and it just pops. And that's probably my favourite scene.
And it could have been a lot shorter film as well because he almost shoots him with the harpoon gun as soon as he gets it handed to him. Another bit of comedy moment just thrown in.
But then we get the peril of the dragging in. And, like you say, it could all be over. But he does get loose from the wire, though. But he's not where he thinks he is. He's only back in Vietnam. And right next to him is his old mate, Big Ben, and he's critically wounded. And he's in pain, he's shouting. Ben begs Roger to finish the job, but unable to kill his friend, Cobb explains that he's going to go for help. Unfortunately, though, the Viet Cong approach, and Cobb runs back to the portal, and as he's been dragged away by the Viet Cong, Ben swears revenge against Roger.
I'll get you for this, Roger.
Yeah, so is this happening now? Is this a flashback in his mind? Is this what really happened in Vietnam and he's coping to deal with it?
I'd say it's what really happened in Vietnam.
And all these are the demons of the past.
Metaphors. I like it. Big Ben, though. Not the most convincing of... I don't know. He's not getting an Oscar, is he? But then he's not supposed to.
No.
I get that. But
he's just there to be the archetypal 80s
Oh, yeah.
buddy.
Yeah, in Nam.
Yeah. And we've already seen he likes a practical joke with the little snake in the cigarette box. So that's just good old Nam buddy.
And I felt a little bit uncomfortable with the Viet Cong. Watching it back now, it was a little bit too.
I wouldn't expect that from you, Brett.
On the nose. I don't know. It was just kind of like, here are some of it out. You know, like it was. I don't know. It was stereotypical.
Yeah.
But I think that's in
but
that
then
day
it,
and
but
age.
then it was 1985, 84 when it was probably made, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, and we all still hated Vietnam then or whatever. You know.
Well, we didn't.
Well, America did. You know.
Yeah.
We, the listener,
Well,
in the,
most of our listeners
in the
probably.
Western world, you know.
Yeah. That was
They
the
were the
image.
evil. Yeah. The image being portrayed. And but yeah, no, I like it. And again, I think, and it's interesting what you said just now, Paul, because it's got me thinking now. Is it the writer looking for the story and getting bits from other writers in this film? Because now that you're saying it takes bits from all different stories, is this like, are we inside his mind and he's reaching for that story he can't write, or am I just reading way too much?
I think you're reading way too much into it.
I don't think it's one of those type of Lynch type films.
Those elements are coming in as he's stretching, and it's. I'm feeling a remake coming on.
And the other cool thing as well, the whole purpose or reason d'etre for this film is it's a comedy horror. And whilst there are horror scenes, we are still getting that dose of comedy thrown in throughout the film. So again, it's that nice, safe watching space to film this in.
Yeah, and even the reaction, you get something bad that's happening, and then that reaction just sets it back. Like you say, I'll get you Roger, and just a little like a bit before with Cliff, where in a normal film the creatures appeared and we should be at death. I'm sorry, not Cliff, Norm, and
who isn't Norm?
And well, you know what I mean. But like what would normally be like the deep scary scene when they finally get the shot off and there's relief. He's almost like he does swear, doesn't he? I can't remember what he says now, but there's like a almost a comical like holy shit reaction rather than the seriousness of it in the team. So it kind of, you get the sting of the horror, but then like you say, you get that kind of comedy with it.
He's trying to basically do some fishing.
Yeah.
He's trying to,
and even like
reel
that
reel the reel in. Yeah,
reeling them in.
Reel the line in.
That's the one.
And like with the Viet Cong thing and with Big Bet, like you get that kind of, it's almost like I love you, Butler. It's that kind of. It brings you back, so it's not. It is scary and it is a bit off and a bit, but it's not. I don't know. I don't know if that even makes it more uneasy because it unsettles you a bit. Because it is comedy, but then you get something terrifying again. I don't know. It's a nice switch of tone that works. Yeah, I'll go with that.
Cool, fair enough. So eventually, Roger gets his way back to the house, and after taking Norm back to sleep off his half a bottle of Jack Daniels that he's drank in the intervening hours or so.
And all those beers he had before he got there.
Yeah.
And cheers. It's just.
He heads back into the house and he removes a cloth covering painted in the workshop that his aunt was working on before she died. Behind the cloth reveals an image of his son Jimmy trapped in a bathroom mirror. Eventually, Cobb finds what appears to be an entry into a sinister otherworld through the bathroom medicine cabinet. Looking into the void, he is pulled into the darkness by an unseen creature. He escapes this creature and then goes off and employs his NARM skills with this length of rope that no one needs to have lying about the house. Let's be honest about it. But either way, he rigs that up and starts crawling down the darkness on some sort of rope pulley system that every now and again, when he swings around, you can actually see the seat that he sat on. I don't know if you spotted that. This is the problem now. Watching films from then that are now in HD, you pick up stuff that probably no one else, you weren't seen in the original shots.
And the problem as well is, I said ages ago, there's a horror film I got, and I forgot what it's called now, but where they've re-edited, they've got the negative and they've put it onto HD and they've restored it and all that. You can see like the puppet hands, you can see all the stuff because it's that clear now. It wasn't
exactly.
It wasn't supposed to have been that clear. No, that smog or that little bit was there for a reason to hide it in the dark.
Exactly. So basically, Roger's sat on a rope swing, but he's supposed to be sort of abseiling himself down into the darkness.
And I think the other cool thing as well is, like, you're watching this, the scenes are cool, the special effects or visual effects are cool as well. The puppetry, for want of a better word. So, you know, it had money and it was well used. You know, for its time, it wasn't like a cheap B movie. You know, and that comes out really.
No, I mean, I love
clear.
So he's dangling down through the darkness, and this random skull bat thing appears out of nowhere, takes his gun, does a nice little kind of Terminator, RoboCop spinning gun thing, and shoots the rope, and that's where he falls to the ground, finding himself back in Nam, and locates his son in a bamboo prison. I was about to go on to your bit, so I'll stop.
Oh, that's right. Yes, if I understand. No, so the other bit I like about this is almost like labyrinth-like or something like that. You know, suddenly it's become a quest, and despite that, how big is his house? Because he's still far down again. Suddenly, like, it's gone from, again, it's that genre thing, and like you said, in the other bits of the story, now it, like you say, it's turned into a quest now. Now he's climbing down things, going along things, then they've got to escape and come back.
Yeah, and he's also got this sense of purpose as well, that he's doing something, as opposed to just running the hell out of that house.
Which he hasn't had for years. He's not had that purpose for years. And then eventually, so him and little Jimmy have got to escape. But as they're leaving the house, they're confronted by Big Ben, who's not quite how he remembers Big Ben. Now he's like a sort of decomposed corpse, zombie-fied kind of, almost Frankensteinish for his height kind of Big Ben. Because Cobb failed to kill Big Ben when he was seriously wounded in Vietnam and he was taken to be a prisoner and tortured before he died, Ben is now out to destroy Cobb at whatever it takes. And he's again in quite an intimidating supervillain type big bad.
I think it's quite cool.
Yeah,
I mean, admittedly, again in HD, you can see the actor's lips moving behind the mask, but you know, we'll forgive that.
And he's, an imposing figure as well compared to Cobb.
Exactly.
Well, to anyone, no one would want to go up against him on a dark night.
No,
particularly if it's in a haunted house where you've fallen through a medicine cabinet. You don't want to be there.
You don't want to be there, especially as you could pull his arm off and he'll just take it back off you and stick it back on
and probably beat you with it. Yeah. And again, but you get this weird claustrophobic kind of. Despite all the running around like I said, and they're on this quest, you're still the fact that they're in the house. So you get this weird claustrophobia, and it works well with the set because, the set is what the set is. It's not, we're not talking loads of different
epic set pieces.
It's not Lord of the Rings.
we haven't got even that. Basically, you've got sort of four wall, but they managed to sort of redo it and keep that sense going of this is the most dangerous place you could ever be, and it really does work.
It's a house that no one should live in.
Right, yeah,
that was one of the taglines.
But and the revelation that Big Ben has, after all this time, has been after Cobb, and obviously there are hints like with the son sort of in the Vietnamese cage that he may have had a hand in that or whatever, and also the worst things that have ever happened to Cobb have
all been down
to this. Yeah, the revelations are coming out now.
Payback,
and it works really well. No, I just realised you said it was my bit. It was his bit.
It's fine.
That's fine because now Paul can just do that bit.
So
just confused me. So I was like,
it confused me as well that you started reading, but hey, that's fine.
That's because he said.
Damien. Cobb confronts Ben, aware that his anger over kidnapping of his son has overwhelmed his fears. Unable to instill fear in Cobb any longer, Ben is defeated. Cobb destroys him and escapes with his son. He glances back at the house triumphantly. He has beaten it and regained control of his life. Yeah.
Classic ending.
Yeah, happy end. Well, happy ending.
It's the fairy tale. It's the fairy tale ending.
Not my fairy tale.
No, but he's got his, he's got his back on the jazz. He's got his jazz back
on the jazz.
He's got his jazz back, and suddenly, because he's got that again now, nothing can hurt him. It's that sort of...
And he's got
I'm not afraid of you anymore, Ben.
Yeah, so he's overcome his, past demons, and he's also got a really good story to write as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he's got his kid.
Who hasn't aged a day.
No.
And no one's going to serve it.
Yeah, exactly. No. It's going to be a hard thing to explain, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to go down well with social services, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a very... I really like it. It's almost, your fairy tale sort of moral ending that you see. Krueger did the same thing. When they turned their back on Freddy Krueger, he lost his power.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other things like that. Hansel and Gretel, it's all there.
That's right. Okay, so that's the film. What do we think now that we've seen it? However many years after those
hazy sunny days of
the wonder years
of the late 80s.
By the old campfire.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
I'll give it a rating. My rating is 9. And I know nostalgia is playing a big part of that.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
However, watching it the other day, I still laughed at the right bits. They still made me proper, not even just kind of proper chuckle. Even though I know instantly what the next scene is. I know what's coming. Still made me chuckle.
Yep.
The fact that you could see the actors' faces behind the mask. Yeah, that's what it is.
You have to forgive it something.
Yeah, the visual effects, the effects for the time, I think are really good. It's not an original story, as we've kind of already touched on. It is it's one of those redemption straight. You can overcome your fears and achieve anything type stuff. But yeah, I still love it. I would recommend it to anyone. It's a great film. Performance-wise, as we already said at the very top of this, William Katt kind of pretty much, whether he's playing himself or not, I don't know, but he plays one character in everything I've ever seen him in. So it's not necessarily a great performance, but for that film, it's
perfect.
It's perfect.
Yeah, but if you'd never seen The Greatest American Hero and watched that, you'd have thought that was good.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. And to be fair, and he holds most of the film is just him.
Yeah.
Everything else is just, supporting characters coming in and out.
And animatronics or whatever.
Yeah. So, to be fair, he's holding virtually 90 minutes of screen time to himself. So, yeah, it's 9 from me.
Cool.
I just love it. I might even watch it again.
Brady boy?
I would go a high 7.5 to 8.
Okay.
I think the biggest faults of the film now are its age. Like you said, I think if they could tidy it up or not tidy it up so well with their HD restorations, I think that would keep some of the mystique intact because, they've cleaned it up too well. But I just think I always thought maybe, I don't know if I think the horror and the comedy balance works really well, like we were talking about earlier, and it punctuates well. But I don't think I was ever fearing for him at all. And maybe that little bit more imminent dread that he might actually die or something, because it's more Labyrinth than it is Nightmare on Elm Street. And it kind of treads both boards. Do you know what I mean? And it's almost, and then you get the sort of Dumbo ending where he didn't need his magic feather after all. It was all in him, sort of. And still like it. Still really good. But it's that sort of watching that again now. You're never. But then, was it supposed to be like that? That maybe that's what they went for. And William Katt should have been in more films.
Yeah.
Although he does return, doesn't he, later in the franchise?
Yeah.
If I remember.
Briefly.
I'm sure I've seen another one somewhere. Got a Paul?
So it's a 9 for me. Loved it. Hoped I would. That's one of the reasons I chose it, as opposed to something that I hadn't seen before, and just went off on one like Videodrome, just because I heard lots about it. But it's tried and tested from my memory, and all those hazy, lovely days, and loved every minute of it. And yes, I can forgive it its sins of the past, because they did the best of what they could at the time. I as you mentioned about William Katt, it's very similar role to potentially he's played before, but he goes for it. Just watching him run around with the enthusiasm and stuff. And let's face it, the amount of takes he must have done for some of those scenes over and over, you can't tell. He just looks like he's so into that role, and he just goes for it. And George Wendt, perfect casting for the bumbling neighbour next door that just wants to be friends with his rich author next door that he idolises. Perfect comedy moments there, and that balance between horror as well, just to lift the viewers up. And I think that's the whole point of comedy horrors. Did I think he was going to die for a moment? No, absolutely not. But that's a different genre. In a pure horror film, yes, you need that. Yeah. But because that brings the tension, the suspense. With this, he's going to get through it. Somehow he's probably going to get his kid back, even though
that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, even though it doesn't make sense, you kind of know where it's going to go. I loved every bit about it, and I do think it's clever. The whole film is the house, and as you mentioned, Brett, they make it, possible for him to go into all these different areas, all these different realms, as it were, inside the house.
It's like the crystal maze in there, isn't it?
But as you say, you always feel part of the house, because you do feel claustrophobic where he's climbing through the bathroom mirror. But somehow they do it really cleverly. Loved every minute of it.
Oh, I think V-necks needed a shout out as well. The scene when he's putting the bins out when he first meets Harold. I mean, that
are you bringing them back?
An ultimate V-neck. I would happily wear a V-neck if it looked like that.
And with nothing underneath as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's down to virtually his belly button. I mean, that is just...
Yeah.
We had mullets in Blind Fury last week. This week is the V-neck sweater with nothing underneath it.
Love the fact that old school people did DIY and stuff wearing like proper clothes. they didn't get into their jogging bottoms or jeans even. Yeah. It's like, oh no, I'm wearing proper pants and shirt. Cool. So I think that's all the thumbs up from us.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
2 of our thumbs are potentially higher than one, but all good scorings, all good reviews, all good memories.
Yeah.
Present and past.
Definitely. I feel George Wendt was robbed of a Best Supporting Actor Oscar.
So, no, dear listener, this isn't the end. This is only the end of the spotlight on the house, but because now we get to hear Brett's choice for our spotlight for next week's horror.
Okay,
and just to remind listeners and potentially new listeners, hello, we do have one veto. So if myself or Damien don't want to do this film and cast a spotlight on this film for next week, we could veto it, but we run the risk of Brett choosing another one, which we could potentially not have the choice.
If we use a veto, we can't use it again for another 6 months.
Yeah, that's right. And that will be recorded.
Well, my choice as the countdown to Halloween continues. All Hallows Eve. I want to take you back to 1980 to a mysterious, ghostly freighter which rams and sinks a then modern-day cruise ship, whose survivors climb aboard the freighter and discover that is a World War II Nazi torture vessel. I want to take you on The Death Ship, starring George Kennedy and Richard Crenna.
This sounds very familiar to me.
I think it is one of them ones you probably got out at the video shop many, many, many years ago.
Must have.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm not vetoing that.
I'm not hearing vetoes.
No, not at all.
It is available if you want to play along at home. It is available on Amazon Prime Video in the UK for free.
Even better.
Watch it. And I think it is on one of the either Arrow or Shudder or one of those ones as well. But yeah, and it is rated 18, so don't have nightmares.
Cool. So that's a wrap for this week. As always, we would ask you to rate and review us on all of the different podcast services, or potentially the one that you're listening on now. Please,
Apple Podcasts as well, have you got it?
Yeah, even if you've listened to us on one of the other streaming services, hey, why not listen back on Apple Podcasts and give us a rating and review there?
Does it sound different? Let us know.
Yeah. Obviously, you know, we talk about lots of films and TVs and give our little review, but obviously we do have a mothership where we have lots more content, lots more reviews, ratings of not just films, but other stuff that comes out as well, Brett.
Yeah, we got it all, and you can check it out on the mothership, cultfaction.com.
That's right. We're also on Twitter, TikTok, and
Instagram, Facebook, and
basically
all the others.
Everywhere. And if you want to drop us an email, yes, it's still available. And maybe give us some suggestions. Give us your comments on this podcast episode. Tell us whether you agree with us, disagree with us.
Have you got a film we should be watching?
Ooh. And maybe we can veto that. Then you could send an email to
cultfactionpodcast@mail.com.
That is right. So, without further ado, it's a good night from me.
It's a good night from me.
And it's a good night from me.
Thanks for listening. Horror has found a new home. You are cordially...
Yes, okay. I'm saying something about
In the darkness, however, his fortuitously... Thank you.
Whose house? Tom's house.
Ooh, he's created a template. Oh, it didn't work.
No, we're finished, I believe.